Welcome in. I am the CryptoBullGod, and this is the premiere episode of the CryptoBullGod Podcast. You can find me on Twitter, TradingView, and YouTube at CryptoBullGod. I'm really excited that everybody's tuning in. This podcast, while it was something that I had strongly contemplated doing, my own personal podcast, because of how excited I am about the cryptocurrency market, and I also feel I'm very knowledgeable, and I would love to share that knowledge with you. The podcast that I am most excited about is the one that I will be doing with my brother. There are a few technicalities surrounding trademarks that we have to work out. It's sort of a last minute thing. I was kind of bummed out because I really thought that we were going to debut a few weeks ago. And then we made a really smart last minute decision that both of us felt was the most prudent thing to do, which was to trademark a few things. Just to cover our bases, but I'm still going to kind of kick things off in the interim here while we're getting things approved, and I'm going to be coming to you every week. I think every week. I don't really have it ironed out, to be honest. And also from a platform perspective, for right now, we're going to keep things on YouTube. It's going to be an audio-only podcast, so there's nothing to watch. And then eventually I'll probably start putting this podcast on other platforms as well, like Spotify, just any other podcast platform that you might use. So the premise of this podcast, what we're going to do is we're certainly going to be talking about cryptocurrencies. That's obviously the aim of the podcast for all those that follow me on Twitter, if you couldn't tell by the name of the podcast, as well as if you follow me on Twitter. We're certainly going to be talking about cryptocurrencies. We'll delve into the financial markets, the infrastructure of the financial system within the U.S. in particular. I also keep things light. I live here down in South Florida, so plenty of funny stories to share. And just also to share a little bit about myself and who I am. If you've seen my profile picture on Twitter, I want to delve into a little bit of who I am. As well. So we'll definitely keep things light, keep things informative, keep things educational, and also make sure to keep this podcast pretty different from what you can expect to see from the other podcasts that I'll be doing with my brother. Now, I do want you to bear with me. I am very analytical in nature. My strong suit are numbers, okay? Thankfully, you get paid well to do that. Thankfully, I'm intelligent in an area that you get paid well. So by trade, I'm an actuary. Okay, I'm a credentialed fellow of the Society of Actuaries. My strong suit is the left side of my brain, the music side, the math side. Now, why am I saying that? I'm saying that because my brother, who is quite opposite from me, his strong suit is creative writing. He's an awesome creative writer, right? So you can plan on future podcast episodes of that other podcast series that there'll be some good creative writing in there. I don't have that. Okay, so please bear with me because I'll do my best to kind of draw up roughly on paper what I want to cover. But I probably won't be as organized as a list of items to talk about as I will on the other podcast. But I still think we're going to have a lot of fun here, and I think I have a lot of good information to share with you that you'll find informative. So with that being said, let's get right into things. This is the recorded on Sunday, airing on Monday, February 22nd, 2021, CryptoBullGod Podcast. And let's just spend a moment to kind of talk about the market. I know things have really been heating up here. And as a technical analyst, and if you follow me on YouTube at CryptoBullGod and watch some of those videos that I have out there, there's a couple key charts, that I'm really paying particular attention to. And what's interesting, so I just want to share some high-level observations. I want to be very mindful that whoever's tuning in, I really could have a mix here. I could have people that are very familiar with the market and some who are that know absolutely nothing. So I'll try to really strike a middle ground, like I say on my YouTube channel, to keep things at a level that both audiences feel engaged, informed, and know what the hell I'm talking about. So I'll try to keep things in layman's terms as well. But, what's really interesting, what I've really been paying particular attention to on this run-up, let's just talk about Bitcoin for a second. What's been really interesting about is, historically we've had these pullbacks. If you look at the prior bull cycle that we saw in, it's like 2015 all the way up through 2018, whatever it was. If you look at a chart, you'll see that on those weekly candlesticks, we've had historical corrections, what we like to call historical corrections, and touch these key moving averages on a weekly chart, or at least get real close to it. Really haven't been seeing that yet. So one of the things this has really been making me contemplate is, as some prominent institutional investors have gotten into the market, Bitcoin's been getting a shit ton of hype. And the market cap has increased to a size. I mean, it hit over $1 trillion recently, and still is above that amount currently. What it's really made me contemplate is perhaps we will not see as many or as significant amount of a correction as we've seen in the past. And so if you look at past historical data, I don't have the charts in front of me, but off the top of my head, pretty sure we saw, anywhere between 35 to 45, typically around 40%. Okay, 40% corrections on the way up in a bull market. Again, cryptocurrency is a very volatile market, very immature. Okay, very immature. A very, 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 very small percentage of people around the world know of cryptocurrencies. I mean, first off, know of cryptocurrencies outside of Bitcoin. You say cryptocurrency, most people say Bitcoin. Do you mean Bitcoin? And outside of even knowing anything about it, really have a firm understanding of anything. It took me personally a little while to really get a good grasp on the fundamentals of what actually cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin were, right? So, but as if you look in the past, right? If you look in the past, and you saw historically in a bull market, so on the way up, as we were going on the way up towards a euphoric top, where we topped out in December of 2017, we still saw pullbacks, right? Nothing goes straight up. And so what I'm saying is, those pullbacks were around 40%. Well, maybe what I'm contemplating is, while we will still see pullbacks, and we have seen pullbacks, the last pullback we saw was when it was up around 42,000. Maybe we won't see a 40% pullback. Maybe we will not see a historic pullback. Maybe the pullbacks we will see will be less sharp of a correction, because as immature as Bitcoin is and the cryptocurrency market is, it still has grown tremendously to a point where maybe some of the corrections we see are 30%. Maybe it's not 40%. Maybe the sharpest correction we see is 30%. The other thing to keep in mind, and I've hit on this in my video, and I talk about this on Twitter at CryptoBullGod, these corrections that we see on the way up, on the way up the stairs to a euphoric top, these are sharp corrections that don't last long. So if Bitcoin does correct by 30%, it's not like the price goes down 30% and stays there. It goes down there and quickly recovers, because the smart people in the market are gobbling up the price. Okay, it's really like one of the things you realize the more you kind of delve into the markets. It's not just people kind of playing these games; it's man and machine. But it's not as cool as the Terminator. You have bots, right? You have bot-driven activity, meaning you have algorithms within a computer disseminating when they should buy and sell. And so when the price hits certain levels, boom, automatic triggers are hit to buy or sell Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So that's why also there can be such volatile movements. Also, people have buy and sell limits as well, which can cause a lot of volatility. Or if somebody market sells or market buys, that can also cause a lot of volatility in the market as well. But yeah, it's really interesting. I've really contemplated that perhaps we will not see as sharp a correction on the way up as we have in the past. The other thing I've kind of hit on, it's really interesting to see people's perspectives on Twitter. Twitter is a really interesting thing in itself. I spend so much time on Twitter. I love Twitter. It connects you with people all over the world. I lose track sometimes of the fact that I could be corresponding with someone in Switzerland. Like, that's freaking crazy to me. I grew up in a really small town in Pennsylvania, so even coming down to live in South Florida, which is like another country in itself, let me tell you. I grew up in white America in eastern Pennsylvania in a small town. And down here, I'm definitely a minority. It's a cultural melting pot of all sorts of different people. But it's still crazy. I lose myself sometimes because it's so cool. It's just so cool to interact with people from Germany or Switzerland or New England, or even people from California, But anyway, it's interesting to see everybody's perspective that people will try to say, they'll go out on a limb and say, oh my God, the market's so overextended, it's over. We're due for a correction. We're due for a correction. Look. I agree with you that there are several things. If I looked at several charts right now, in many respects, the market is overheated. But on the other hand, don't fight the trend. Ethereum, think about this. While Bitcoin, you may feel, is very overextended at this point, and I'm not going to argue that fact, Ethereum is still hovering around that 2,000 mark. It hasn't even, for those familiar with TA, it literally has not gotten up to and sustained a level at its 1.618 fib extension, superseding its prior all-time high. It hasn't even gotten up to the 1.618 fib extension. So there's all sorts of different perspectives you can take on things. Another perspective I'd offer you for the people who say things are overheated right now. And I've tweeted about this many times. Look at Zcash, look at Dash, look at Bitcoin Cash, and look at XRP. Just look at those 4 cryptocurrencies. Now, look at those cryptocurrencies in relation to their prior all-time high. Yeah, they're very undervalued if you feel that they're going to break their prior all-time highs, which I feel all 4 will, without question. So there is a lot of catch-up still to play within the market. I do think at some point we are going to see a sharp, volatile, quick correction, particularly within altcoins, because one thing you have to recognize if you're in the market here, the altcoins are, it's any other cryptocurrency other than Bitcoin, okay? And the king altcoin is Ethereum. And typically what happens is when Bitcoin corrects, you see a correction in the rest of the market within the altcoins, and they will correct sharper and harder than Bitcoin. And that should intuitively make sense. Bitcoin is the mothership right now of the entire cryptocurrency market, right? The direction that Bitcoin goes, whether you like it or not, is going to be the steering vessel. I can't think of the right word, but it's going to be the navigator of the seas for the rest of the cryptocurrency market, right? And it has the largest market cap. It has the most volume being traded in and out of it. Okay, the smaller cryptocurrency plays, like if you look at something like I own, well, actually, I don't want to speak specifically to what I own to, but if you look at something like Dash is a great example. Dash has I love Dash. Dash has a much smaller market cap, okay? So if you look at the daily price action on it, okay, it has less volume going in and out, has a smaller market capitalization. So when there's volatility within the market and things are going really haywire and people are buying and selling, well, there's a higher probability that you'll see a higher spike in price. It's more likely to double, meaning you're more likely to see Dash double in one day than you would Bitcoin. But here's the counter to that. There's a trade-off with that. You're more likely to see a 40% correction in one day to Dash than you would with Bitcoin, okay? Because it has a smaller market capitalization. But don't fight the trend, guys and girls, if there's any girls listening to this podcast. Don't fight the trend. I'm going to keep evaluating the charts and updating everybody on Twitter and TradingView, my apologies on TradingView. By the way, on TradingView, I apologize. I have not been as active on TradingView lately. I've been posting all these charts on Twitter, trying to get engagement there, and I've really just TradingView's sort of gone by the wayside, and I do plan to get back up on there, so please bear with me. But anyway, I plan to keep everyone current, but my gut feel at this point is, especially because Ethereum is sort of hovering around that 2,000 level, I still feel like the altcoins want to push a little higher before we see that sharp, quick, volatile correction within the altcoins. There's also a couple key charts I'm evaluating within Bitcoin to suggest we could get up in the 60,000 range prior to seeing maybe like a 30% pullback to say like 48. Maybe we go up hypothetically to 62,000 and pull back to 48,000 or something like that. One of the other things that I wanted to touch on related to that, hopefully I explained this really well. If your goal, or not your goal, but if your perspective or your desire is to see Bitcoin reach as high as, let's just pick a number that I originally had. I think I had 235,000, but let's just say 250, okay? Let's say you really want to see Bitcoin reach some euphoric top at $250,000, okay? So like a 5x from here. Actually, a little less than that because it's at about 58,000. But anyway, you want to see it hit 250,000, right? Hopefully it makes sense, okay? Like my father always says, the market goes up and down, Sean. It goes up and down. It has ups and downs. Yes. The more we remain within this sort of euphoric cycle within a bull market where Bitcoin just keeps going up, there's more risk. There's more risk that we're going to top very early at a lower level. Meaning, what if the stock to flow model, for those not familiar, look it up. It's something that I personally plan to become a lot more familiar with the intricacies of the modeling. I'll save that for another episode. But for those familiar with the stock to flow model, what happens if we don't hit 100,000? What if the market just keeps going into this euphoric cycle and Bitcoin tops at like 85,000? I mean, that would take everyone by surprise, right? So the more we keep sharply inclining in price, I think there's a risk without a pullback that we top much earlier than people think within the market, and then we enter a bear cycle. Maybe the bear cycle isn't as long as last time, but I'm really looking at the possibility that there's all sorts of different possibilities, right? All we can do as a technician, especially as a TA person, all we can do is we can look at past data, right, to make informed decisions regarding future price action, make probabilistic statements regarding future price action. We also take today's data. We look at the past and we look at today's data, and we just try to make informed decisions, okay? But there's so many different scenarios based upon that could really play out. One scenario is we top super, super, super early, okay? And when I say super, super early, what I mean is like May or June. I know that seems crazy, but literally Bitcoin tops in May or June. Alts make this magnificent run up, and they spike up in maybe June or July, and that's it. And then we could have another scenario where maybe the market tops in October, November, somewhere around there. And I personally, and I've said this on Twitter, I'd really like to see, there's always a narrative, right? The thing you have to understand as a TA person is there's always a narrative, whether it's Tetherfud or whatever the case is. If you're not familiar with what Tether is, Google Tether and look up what Tether is. And FUD means, FUD means fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Sorry for you. I'll try to keep that in mind for using terminology. But anyway, whether it's Tetherfud or whatever, there's always a narrative to go along with a correction or a spike in price, right? Elon Musk bought Bitcoin, so Bitcoin spikes up. Nah, you look at a chart, and the chart told me that Bitcoin was in a bull flag, and it was set to increase in value. So, but anyway, whatever the narrative is, whether it's Tetherfud or whatnot, I'd really like to see prices cool off, maybe settle in that $40,000 range, kind of cool off. Maybe we even wick down into the 30s. Whatever the case is, we kind of cool off, we level off, and then we begin to ascend again. Because again, if the market gets too hot, it's like a just thought of this now. It's like a kettle, okay? It's like you have a kettle on a stove, and it's just, you hear the kettle whistling, and it's ready to boil over. We don't want it to reach that limit, because when it reaches that limit, we're at the top of our cycle, and we're going to have a blow off top. And we don't want that to happen too soon, because the price, there's a much higher likelihood that if we can kind of cool off and continue ascending upwards, we could hit 200 or 250,000. There's a much smaller possibility that if we just keep going parabolic and we don't have a 30 or 40% correction, that we're going to hit 200 or 250,000. So I really want to see things cool off. So it'll be real interesting. We'll have to see what directions the market goes this week. This podcast will be released on Monday. I'm recording this on Sunday, like I said, but it will be released Monday morning at 7 a.m. So those who choose to tune in, you could listen to it on your car on your commute into work, or if you're going into an office. God, that's been an interesting experience. I've been, just a little bit about myself, that's a good transition. I've been a full-time work from home actuary for many years now, and I actually I manage working remote, and I really love my career, real passionate about it, love what I do, and it's real interesting to see the transition that's been taking place with working remote. I've been fighting this uphill battle all my life, I feel like, to impress upon others that, it's contingent on the person, but you can do just as good a job, if not better, having a home office and working from home. There were just so many employers when I was interviewing for jobs a few years ago, when I was looking to change jobs, where they just had this. It's interesting, it's in general, people are like this. This is the way we do something, and you're suggesting something else. I'm sorry, but this is the way we do it. We can't think outside the box that something else might work. You physically have to be in the office every single day to do your job effectively. It made no freaking sense to me whatsoever. And what you're finding right now is that, at least at the organization I work at, and I've read articles on this as well, it's not just the company I work for, but they're finding that people are just as productive, if not more productive, working remote. And I've been screaming this for years, and part of me is just so frustrated that it took a pandemic to make people realize this. But I'm happy to see it. I kind of look at the workforce, and I've thought this for a few years. I think that home offices, I think that's going to be a thing of the past. I think that organizations are going to have sort of like hub locations throughout the entire country. Let's just, forget international for a second, just throughout the entire country. You can meet up there with coworkers, because guess what? If you work for Google or you work for Amazon, I don't need to live in California. A lot of people are moving out of California. I don't need to live in New York. I might want to live in Florida, or I might want to live in Texas, or I might want to live in South Carolina. And perhaps where employees of an organization are predominantly located, there could be hub locations. You meet up every now and then. You grab coffee, you sit in on meetings, but man, you can share your desktop. You can, you're right next to someone. You can go on video camera if you really feel a need to see someone. You can do your job just as effectively. And so like I said, it's been a little frustrating, but also good to see. Speaking of frustrating, here, I'll share a funny story with you real quick. So really beautiful weather today down in South Florida. I needed to take a break from looking at all these charts. As passionate as I am about the market, we all need downtime and need to get out and see friends and do other things, right? So made plans to go to the beach, get there, and it was windy as hell. I mean, I've never gone to the beach and left within 3 minutes. Laid out the towel as that was a fight. Let me tell you, that was a fight. I looked up at the sky and I thought of my grandfather. Looked up at the sky, just clouds, no sun. Had left my area where I left, and it was, where I live, and it was beautiful and sunny out. I get to the beach, it's cloudy out. I thought of Pop right away. And I put out the towel. It's a struggle to get the towel out because the wind is battling me. I lay it out, and as I'm getting ready to lotion up and lay out and just listen to music, I look down at the towel. The wind's blowing, the sand's kicking up in my face. I look down at the towel, and my towel's covered in sand. And I was like, well, forget this. So I just packed up and left. And I gotta say, props to the guys who do this. Really appreciate the consideration on the way out, hit the restroom. I don't know what it is, but why can you not flush the urinal after going in it? There's one urinal in the men's bathroom at the beach, and it just pisses me off when the guy in front of me uses the urinal and doesn't flush. And he turns around, and I look at him, and I look at him, and I say, really? He's like, what? I was like, you can't even flush. I'm that sort of person, unless if the person's twice as tall as me, and I know he could beat the crap out of me. I am smart. But in most cases, I am that person that will say something. I don't let that stuff slide. Are you kidding me? I don't know what that is. Just make sure to, guys, please, women are right in this regard. As much as women want to throw guys under the bus, well, guess what? 9 out of 10 guys that I've been behind in the urinal at this place, at the beach I go to, they are proving women correct. Guys don't know how to flush a toilet. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Tell you. So, I really hope you enjoyed today's. We're going to leave it on that note about flushing a urinal. Boy, this has been a hell of a podcast to leave on that note. But I hope that you found the podcast informative. We're going to try to keep this to 30 minutes or under. And like I said, I'll probably be doing this every week. I'm going to try to make it engaging, entertaining, and informative. So I do want to close out every single podcast until the top of this bull cycle in the same format every single episode. And that is as follows. Please join me in a moment of silence for all of those I attempted on multiple occasions to get into crypto and have remained ignorant. Thank you.